Forward. It's midnight when I return from the Bolivia House banquet. Once the king is satisfied, I don't have my left leg yet, or my right arm. I'm still missing my fingers and toes, and my eye is rewriting itself. But my TV show is on. I've been waiting for it all day, anticipating the newest episode like my own personal drug. So, dragging my 203rd body through the front door of Sam's old house, I revel in a semblance of home. It's not home though. Home is gone, and Sam's house is all I have. I ignore Poppy's body crumpled on the carpet. There's always a fresh bottle of Coke in the refrigerator. I crack it open, taking a long sip. Despite the ugly smear of blood drenching the walls, the ceiling, and me, gluing my clothes to my flesh and my hair to the back of my neck, I can't help but smile. Laughter bubbles in my throat as my favorite show comes on. It's black and white, but so is everything else. The room around me is monochrome and wrong, but also right. There are too many doors and yet not enough. The TV flickers in and out of existence, and the floor prickles with static. Outside, the sky is a swirling mass of black and white. I look down at myself, at my own flickering outline devoid of features. When I find my reflection in the hollowed out splinters of the TV screen, I see the void where my face should be, a gaping pool of oblivion with teeth. However, I don't feel anything, only a sweet euphoric numbness slowly taking over me. The Bolivia House residents tell me to keep smiling and laughing. Can we come out now? Hannah is still behind the curtain. I strictly told her to stay behind there no matter what. She's getting so big, almost a month old, and Hannah is so grown up. Her small face peeks out, moonlit eyes illuminating the otherwise haunting black and white blanketing us. Is it safe to come out? No, stupid head, Jen grumbles from behind the other curtain. When the little boy risks a peek at me, his mouth is smeared scarlet, flecks of dried entrails stuck on his chin. Jem's eyes widen and he leaps back into the curtain. We can't come out because of the bad people looking for us. We have to stay very still. That's right. I smile widely, my eyes flickering to the television screen. I ignore the children's faces, even Lena, who refuses to come out from behind the curtain, only communicating with me through frightened squeaks. Their voices fade in and out of existence, and I crank up the volume to my favorite show. The scene begins on a roof. The main character struggles to maintain her balance, throwing out her arms. The girl has no appearance, no face, existing more as a silhouette. She crouches to a sitting position, sliding down to where another figure sits. It's a guy, sitting comfortably with his legs to his chest, a notepad and pen beside him. The first thing she sees is the light emanating from him, illuminating the night sky that is too black. There are no stars, no streetlights, just peaceful oblivion. The boy has dark tousled hair, a pair of Ray-Bans sitting on top of his curls. His skin is made of static, and he's wearing the tatters of a shirt and jeans. When he turns around, his eyes, sharp and piercing, are filled with moonlight, reflecting a cold, almost otherworldly glow. I pause on him for a moment, drinking in eyes that are still human, still filled with emotion, even if the ethereal light splintering through his skin suggests otherwise. A scowl twists on his lips, defining the sharp angles of his face. He twists back around, pivoting his feet. Kaz told you. Kaz is high as fuck right now, the girl says, splunking herself beside him. She offers him a beer, and as he shakes his head, averting his gaze and subtly shifting away from her, she notices, but doesn't say anything. Instead, she cracks open the beer and gulps it down with a smile. I can get pretty much anything out of him when he's toasted. And yes, he may have let slip that you like your midnight broods on the roof. Brood? The guy shifts further away from her again. I'm not brooding, I'm thinking. Cass said you would say that, in that exact tone. His lip quirks slightly, and it looks like he might laugh before turning away. Asshole. She sighs, hugging her legs to her chest. Rowan? He stretches his legs out. No, I haven't translated it yet. He rubs his temples. The words are hurting my head. That's not what I wanted to talk about. He shuffles away from her. Well, I've got nothing to say. I await her words, my heart jumping around in my chest. I killed you, she says softly, and I rewind it over and over again just to hear those words, just to see the slightest flicker in his expression, the twist in his lips. Rowan doesn't look at her, his gaze caught in oblivion. Maybe he's subconsciously searching for the moon because she's inside his head, entangled in his thoughts. But he is listening, and that's enough. I killed you under the influence, and I can't apologize because sorry doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem genuine. She exhales a breath. But if I could go back, if I could not be a coward and stay with you, die the way I was supposed to, and be sacrificed to a fucking werewolf-worshipping cult, I would. He still doesn't look at her, and I see the moment he breaks apart, and yet somehow holds it together. I see his shuddering hands going to his lap, his fingers twisting together and apart. Do you know what's funny? He says, his voice cracking. I really did think you weren't going to run away. But when they killed Imogen, and then Kaz, this time he does move away, significantly so, forcing himself further away from her. He looks so vulnerable, so small, but she keeps her distance this time. I can tell from the way she twists her body, the palms of her hands primed into fists, that she's ready to run away again. When Kaz died on my shoulder, I heard his last breaths. Rowan whispers. I felt him go limp. His body was all over me, and I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't fucking comprehend the idea of dying with him. He's crying. His voice is tangled and muffled, and he's shaking, tears rolling down his cheeks. Tears that reflect the eerie glow of the moonlight still swimming in his eyes, drowning the last lingering humanity he's fighting to hold on to. But you still fucking ran. He buries his head in his knees, and she finds herself backing away slowly. Kaz was fucking dead. Imogen had a knife through her head and was bleeding out. She was suffering. They were both fucking suffering, and that's all I can see. Rowan's laugh is twisted and wrong, and when he lifts his head, his eyes are one of a monster. She makes me watch it over and over again. She forces me to watch you turn your back and run, while they suffer. He starts towards her slowly, prowling like an animal, leaning closer and closer, until moonlight is all she can see. I fucking hate you, Nin, he says, his lips curving into a spiteful smile. Not because of what you did to me, and not even for leaving us. I get it. You were under the influence. You didn't mean to plunge a knife through my skull, because the moon was in your head, right? He laughs and his breath tickles her face, and I can still feel it, tracing my fingers over my own lips. You didn't even look at them. He retracted back in a flinch, like he was disgusted. Rowan gets to his feet, and Nin doesn't move. You didn't look at me, he continued in a snarl. You turned away. Rowan. Her voice is surprisingly cold, and she follows him, standing up and taking a step towards him. This time, she doesn't stumble or use her arms to balance herself. It's my favorite part. And I grab the TV remote and pause it. Hannah peeks behind the curtains again, her gaze flickering to the TV. I press a finger to my lips and she nods, diving back into obscurity. On screen, Rowan stays stubbornly still, his eyes narrowing. He's becoming more and more animal-like as the days go by, and he doesn't eat. When she reaches out and grabs his hand, entangling their fingers together, his skin is almost static. Nin squeezes his wrist and makes a face like a petulant child, but he doesn't pull away. Has it ever crossed your mind that maybe she's doing it on purpose? His lip curls, but he doesn't say anything. You're right, Nin says. I did turn away, And I did want to run. I'm not going to lie to you and say I wasn't a coward. When his expression twists, she continues before he can spout something sarcastic. But wouldn't you have done the same? She whispered. Tell me, right now, that if you were in my place and forced to watch your friends murdered right in front of you, someone you really fucking cared about. Her voice choked up. Do you honestly think the natural human reaction to that is to stay and have the same fate? She stepped closer, and his expression hardens. You said it yourself. Humans are selfish, Nin says. And I was a selfish human who couldn't watch my friends die. The woman who killed me said I would suffer for what I did. And you are my punishment. She laughs, and so do I, mimicking her words. That night, she commented on our relationship, airing out Nin curls her lip, our distaste for each other. When Rowan lets out a snort, she shoves him. She preyed on that, Nin says and lowers her voice. The private thoughts and feelings we had for each other. You thought I was selfish, and I thought you were a pretentious asshole. Thanks. That's what she's been doing. She took those initial feelings and twisted them. She's in your head, Rowan. She can puppeteer you anytime she likes, turning you into an absolutely bloodthirsty monster, or half a werewolf, or whatever the fuck you are. I'm not a werewolf. He rolls his eyes. We agreed on moon-afflicted creature. Nin's mouth twitches into a smile. He ripped apart half the town council. Yes, as a moon-afflicted creature. You're in denial, she says, her voice hardening. I'm not in denial. Kaz is fine with being called a werewolf. Of course he is. The guy loves fantasy. Yes, she says, but it's not fantasy. You're definitely changing under a full moon. Rowan is quick with a rebuttal, because of course he is. Werewolves run on all fours and howl at the moon. Do I howl at the moon? I've seen you on all fours. He scrunches up his face, and she can't resist a laugh. Yes, he hisses in exasperation. But do I pledge my undead doggy allegiance to the moon by sitting there and howling at the sky all night? Not yet. His expression mirrored one of a wounded puppy. Ironic. What do you mean, not yet? She sighs. You, Kaz, and Imogen are the origin of a werewolf. A human being sacrificed to the moon, whether that be willing or not, with the ability to shift their flesh to one of a monstrous dog-like beast. Yeah, but I can't do that, he mutters stubbornly. You're stalling, Rowan. So what if I am? His expression twists. He's building walls again, but she's used to it. I'm not a werewolf. I'm a moon-afflicted creature. I don't need your half-assed explanations you pulled from Kaz's laptop. Nin folds her arms. This is what I don't like about you. You have to be right about everything, and it drives me fucking crazy. He steps closer to her. Oh, so you do hate me. Something contorts in her eyes, and my stomach twists. You think I'm a childish, entitled brat, so yes, I'm not a fan of you. His lips tug into a smirk. Because you are. Well, you're obsessed with being right, she spits back. You're a pretentious, know-it-all asshole who hides behind sarcasm because you're too afraid of getting hurt. Ouch. See, that's what I mean. Rowan inclines his head. I don't have to be right about everything, Nin. I can see the struggle on Nin's face, and I can feel it too. A sudden suffocating sensation creeping up our throat and taking hold. You thought you were right about the moon rising, she says, and something snaps inside me. I reach for the remote to turn it off, but my fingers aren't fully formed yet. So, Nin continues while I panic. And you were wrong. Her words twist my gut, and I can feel it again. Even if I'm used to it, even if it's become part of me, I can feel the razor-sharp sting of teeth tearing into my guts. Phantom fingers clawing into my flesh. You said you were safe. That moonlight couldn't get inside your head. You said you could block it out. I jumped to my feet and tried to switch off the TV by the outlet, but the outlet was fried a long time ago. You said you would be okay. Nin's voice breaks into a sob on screen, and I'm crying too, suffocating, drowning in her tears. She shoves him back. Suddenly, he's on his knees in front of her, in front of me, his head tipped back. His eyes are so bright. I can see the ghosts of something adorning his curls, something slicing into the flesh of his forehead. Color ignites to life amongst the monochromatic black and white, but I can only see thick rivulets of red beating down his face, mixing with otherworldly moonlight. "You left me," she all but laughs, breaking into hysterical giggles. "All three of you left me alone, and I don't know what to do. My head hurts, and I'm hungry. I'm so fucking hungry, and you're not here. It's so fucking dark. I need you to get a hold of yourself. I need the three of you to come home. All right?" She gulps and sobs. "It doesn't matter what you've done, or what she's made you do. I need you to come back." Her hands rip at her hair, and I don't even feel the sting of my fingernails digging into my scalp. I don't feel my static ponytail being torn out, strand by strand. I find the remote on the floor and stab rewind with my index, my heart in my throat. I press play, and everything is okay again. Everything is fine. That night, I left as soon as Rowan Beck uttered the words, "You turned away." I left him on the roof, and I didn't turn back. I didn't think I had to, but now I can change that. On screen, Nin laughs, and I watch Rowan's expression crumble, his resolve splintering. The moon has been filling your head with bullshit, brainwashing you into believing that running away and being scared isn't a natural human reaction. Yes, I killed you, and you have every right to hate me. She takes a steady breath. But you have also been brutally killing and eating me to survive. He laughs, but it's surprisingly warm, like his old self. Oh wow, that's cold. It's true. Yes, well, I have to eat you. If not, she'll punish me. You didn't have to kill me. That's still eating me, she says. Also, like you, I had the moon singing in my head. Rowan cocks a brow. "So, you're saying we're even?" She sighs. "I'm saying there's a time and place to be an asshole and despise me." I mimic her words. "When we figure out what you guys are and what's happening to you, and why we can replicate, you're free to shut me out of your life and never talk to me again, which I will understand because brutally murdered you and turned you into this." Something lights up in his eyes, and he laughs. I'm aware I'm copying him word for word, reveling in his warm smile and flecks of dancing orange in his eyes. He steps closer to her. "Oh, I'm a this now? You've skimmed right past werewolf and moon-afflicted creature. Straight to calling me this? No." Nin shrugs and prods at the light spider webbing across his cheek, delving her fingers into spilling moonlight that is surprisingly cold. She traces it all the way to his right eye, and he watches her, unblinking. "Whatever this weird shit is, how do you even do that with your face?" "It's literally just my face," he murmurs, wafting her hand away. "Can you stop touching me? I don't hate you," she says. "Yes, you're insufferable and hard to live with, and yes, at one point, I did want to push you into a ravine." She paused. "I'm not saying I agree with the whole eating me thing, but I don't hate you for being forced against your will to eat me to survive." Rowan purses his lips, but he's holding a smile. "I'm not doing this," he says in a sing-song and turns away from her. "Good night." Nan slumps back down, comfortably lying on her back. Now who's running away? Rowan doesn't respond, but he does join her after a moment, slowly reclining his body into a laying down position. Her eyes stay on the sky, but occasionally flicker to her, curious, before quickly averting his gaze. Neither of them speak, and Rowan is still keeping his distance, but the two of them are comfortable. I press pause, leaning back into the warm leather of the couch with a smile. The screen disappears in a blur of static, and I'm left staring dazedly at the hollowed-out skeleton of Sam's TV. The end, I say with a smile, and rewind it all the way back to the beginning. Present day. Marlow State Library was divided into two distinct sections. The study area was filled with rows of desks and shelves on every book imaginable. Rustic walls and old-fashioned paintings clashed with the more modern aesthetic of vending machines and personal computer spaces. In contrast, the relaxation corner offered a cozy atmosphere, with beanbags slumped around a flickering fireplace, and ancient patterned couches evoking the charm of dark academia novels. Ever since the sky had turned permanently black, I found solace in researching moon afflictions. Whatever my housemates were, and what this cult was planning, we had to be ready for it. I downloaded a program that was supposed to live track the moon cycles, which was unpredictable. In Rowan Beck's words, she had turned off the fucking sun. So, the town was unsurprisingly freaking out. Still, being in the library was better than being at home. It was like living with 3 bratty teenagers. Rowan wanted nothing to do with me, transforming into a 23-year-old man-child, and Imogen was keeping her distance, ashamed. Now I knew what she was. Kaz was only himself when he was high. Otherwise, he locked himself in his room and smoked weed until he was toasted. He came knocking on my door. I don't know why he was surprised I didn't want to play Smash with him at 2 a.m., when he was both moon drunk and high. If there was one thing Bolivia House residents lacked, it's communication. It was a cloudy night, thankfully, but I wasn't putting my trust in the weather. If the moon wanted to, she could push through, and judging from the dim glow on the horizon, she was planning something. There was a small group of students on the other side of the library that had caught my attention. Maya Carlisle and her friends were slumped in the beanbags by the fire, Maya ranting about the devils to her friends. Over the last few days, I had come to realize the moon had an effect on the students, turning them from level-headed adults to paranoid and gullible preteens. I had a bad feeling she wasn't talking about the satanic kind of devils. Maya was definitely a townie, and judging from her tone of voice, she knew my housemates' kidnappers, who we turned into Plant Killer. "Hey, Nin." Maya's voice cut through my thoughts. I lifted my head, fashioning a smile. "Yeah?" Neither Maya nor her group of friends were smiling back. "You're friends with Sam Fuller, right?" I swallowed. "I used to be." "Did you know Sam wrote an article exposing his ex-boyfriend for being a devil?" Maya's lips twisted in disgust. "And now, he's coincidentally disappeared?" "Devil," one of her friends repeated in a snort. Maya nodded, perching herself in one of the boys' laps. "Four-legged beast that once ruled this town in an eternal darkness." The guy laughed nervously. "So, werewolves?" I started to get up to escape, but Maya was already on my tail. "So, what's the deal with your housemates?" she asked, her voice a little too loud and a little too high-pitched. "You're not friends with those freaks, right? Imogen Prairie? You mean the little slut who slept around freshman year?" Her words sliced through me like a blunt edge of a knife. "Did you hear what she whispered to Chad at Abigail's party? The fucking freak said she wanted to taste him." The guy snorted. "Sounds like she knows how to party." Their loud chatter cut off when the library doors opened. There was no dramatic entrance, no loud bang, and yet, every gaze was suddenly on the 2 figures that strolled in. The first word that came to mind was overexposed. When they didn't eat, my friends were static outlines. However, when they did eat, at that moment, past feelings vanished. I always saw them as my older and annoying brothers, but I could feel the moon's song inside me, digging around in my brain and forcing me to look at them, at him. Under the influence myself, I drank every piece of them, my gaze drawn to every detail, torso, lips, nose, eyes, every movement. Kaz's slight smirk as he whispered something, and Rowan's grumbled response, the freckles on their cheeks, Rowan's sharp jawline. Somehow, the moon had scrubbed away every flaw, creating a new otherworldly version of them. The light gave them an unearthly aura, and in my spinning thoughts, I found myself dizzy and almost giggly, like a child. It was like my brain had been reduced to mush. Normally, they wouldn't attract such attention, but under the moon, they were beacons. She was ensuring that, showing them off. I couldn't tell if it was the glasses hiding their moonlight eyes, or the aura enhancing their simple jeans and sweatshirts. Rowan's tousled hair peeked from under a beanie, while Kaz's shaggy locks were hidden beneath his hood. I couldn't look away. I couldn't move or think. They were like sirens, drawing the breath from my lungs and voice from my throat. It hit me when Rowan's lips formed a smile, and across the room, one of Maya's friends jumped up, swaying, her expression blank, her smile wide. They were sirens, though the spell didn't last long. After a moment of being enraptured by the light, I was released from the hold, able to breathe again. I blinked myself out of the trance, resisting the urge to drag them away. They were oblivious to their audience, speaking in murmurs, heads together in deep conversation. Moon drunk. Kaz laughed, which was alarming. He never laughed in public. He'd sooner bury himself in the ground. The carefree laugh, head thrown back, with no self-awareness. Yeah, definitely moon drunk. I didn't realize I was still gaping at them, locked into a dead-eyed stare, when Rowan was suddenly standing directly in front of me, waving his hands in my face. Yo! My housemate clicked his fingers impatiently when I failed to respond. Nin, are you having a stroke? Behind them, the bewitched girl blinked, embarrassed, darting back to her friends. I found my voice. What was that? Kaz chuckled next to him, slipping off his Ray-Bans and placing them on his head. He nudged Rowan. Geez, she's like our mom. He leaned close, almost tipping over. Don't worry, we're in complete control. You're moon tipsy, I hissed. Where's Imogen? She's doing Imogen things, Kaz replied. He prodded my laptop screen. What are you working on? How Kaz thought I wasn't going to believe he wasn't under the influence when he could barely speak through childish giggles was a mystery. It's tracking the moon, I said impatiently, which is rising in under an hour, and both of you are exposed. I shook my head. No, you're already exposed, and you left Imogen at home? Risking a glance at Maya across the room, who was glaring daggers into Rowan's back. I swallowed frustration building in my throat. You two are either moon drunk or stupid. I stabbed the screen of my laptop. The moon could rise at any moment. Do you remember the last time it did? I caught Rowan's eyes when he slipped off his Ray-Bans, an ethereal light glittering around his iris. Café des Nines? I emphasized my name, and Rowan laughed, loudly. The librarian motioned for him to be quiet. Ah, she thinks some foreign program can help us. Rowan reached across the table and ruffled my hair. Adorable. It's almost like she feels guilty for leaving us to die. When Kaz elbowed him, he mockingly cleared his throat. In all seriousness, we are in control. Since it's only a teensy bit of moonlight, it's like being high, and we are completely and totally. Rowan burst out laughing, setting Kaz off too, the two of them howling like two hyenas. It was like looking after children. Rowan caught me by surprise, wrapping his arms around me, snuggling into my shoulder. Rowan wasn't a hugger, so his spontaneous act of affection was odd, to say the least. We're fine, he whisper-snorted into my chest. We are always 1,000 steps ahead of her. Kaz, with the biggest grin on his face, nodded. You were the one who exposed us. I was trying to get away from you after finding you eating my mutilated corpse, I said dryly. Rowan stepped back, folding his arms. You still exposed us. Also, he leaned close, his lips finding the bridge of my ear, his tone splintering into ice. His mood swings needed to be studied. Need I remind you that you, yes you, murdered us and left us for dead to a psycho cult? The moon can rise and fall whenever she wants to right now, and you two are just winging it? The two of them grinned like little kids, nudging each other. Maybe. Rowan took a seat, his knees knocking against mine. I tried my best to ignore him playing Jenga with my books. Do either of you realize you're giving off a siren effect right now? So, we look good? Rowan paused in murdering my notes, sending me a pensive look. You two look like overexposed Polaroids. I'll take that as a compliment. He noticed my weary glance, tightening his fingers around the flask. Thirsty? Rowan flashed me a grin with a little too many teeth. I could glimpse the shadow of the moon's light slowly blooming behind his eyes. It's amazing what you can do when you blend up the human intestine. He pointed at himself. I'm more of a bone type of guy, but Kaz loves your large intestine. They're like gourmet sausages for him. I could feel myself retracting back in my chair, my toes curling, barf searing my throat. My housemates must have seen my expression, the two of them sharing a look. The kind of look your little brothers have when they've just put a whoopee cushion under your seat. I'm kidding, Rowan said, his smile widening. It's coffee, Nin. His lips curved around the rim. Or is it? Behave. Kaz threw on his jacket, and once again, just his movements were drawing attention from strangers. I'm gonna head to the town meeting before the moon rises. I'll pick up some pizza on the way home and we can play board games. He patted Rowan on the head. Don't kill each other. Before either of us could reply, Kaz left us in an awkward silence. I turned my attention to my laptop, Rowan burying his head in my arms. Did you translate what was carved into my ceiling? I asked. He nodded, pulling out his notebook. The kings and queen must be crowned to be complete. I followed the ancient scribbles with my pen. Like, turn royals into werewolves? Rowan's lip curled. Do not say that word. What? Werewolves? He didn't get a chance to reply before thick beads of crimson red were trickling down his face, tracing jagged paths over too pale skin. I blinked rapidly, my heart pounding, but it wasn't blood. When I lurched back in my chair, my vision cleared. Maya Carlyle was standing behind my housemate, pouring half a bottle of water over his head. Rowan was soaked, his hair plastered to his head, but he didn't show any visible reaction except blinking water out of his eyes. Maya's dark gaze met mine. Did you know the human body is 60% water? The moon affects the tide, so it must have an effect on water too. I heard that water from the river can reveal town devils hiding in plain sight. When I couldn't speak, Rowan turned to the girl. He didn't look pissed. If anything, he was amused. I'm sorry, devils? Spitting out water, my housemate wiped his face with the sleeves of his jacket. Enlighten me on your clear psychotic break, Maya. He started to take off his glasses, and I kicked him under the table. Maya dropped the bottle. You don't sound like you're up to date with the lore, Beck, she said. Devils, people without shadows? She got close to him, far too close for comfort. People who can transform into beasts. I caught his fingernails digging into the desk. Something inhuman flickering in his expression he was trying to keep neutral. Instead of giving in to the moon, he shot her a grin. Are you hitting on me, Maya? Maya's expression contorted with disgust. I'm not falling for your games, she spat. You transformed into a monstrous devil and murdered Sam Fuller and those missing students in townies, didn't you? Rowan frowned, pulling off his glasses. Missing students? What are you talking about? Maya's friends dragged her away before she could elaborate. I handed him my jacket to dry himself. Ignore her. The moon is making everyone crazy. Rowan groaned, running a hand through damp curls. The townies are talking about devils, which means some of them are stupid enough to believe our kidnappers. If people start talking, we'll be suspects, and if they start sniffing around, the town council, I said, who are also 6 feet under in our yard. We should probably go. Rowan's gaze flashed to the blinds. She'll be making her move soon. His phone vibrated. It's Emmy, he murmured, frowning at the screen. Rowan was staring at his phone for way longer than necessary and it reminded me of that look, the certain dazed look he got under the moon's influence. When his eyes caught something reflective, I opened my mouth to speak, to snap him out of it, before he lifted his head, his brown eyes wide and frenzied. His hair was still damp, strands glued to his forehead. Apparently they're rounding up freshmen. He jumped to his feet, his eyes growing progressively darker. Rowan had a strange grace, despite clearly panicking. He tucked the chair under the table before power walking to the exit, nodding a silent goodbye to the librarian. I followed, my heart diving into my throat. We were out the door in a single breath, with Rowan taking 2 steps at a time down the stairway, tugging his hood up. "We're fucked," he said in a hiss. "It's the Salem witch trials all over again. Except us. We, are definitely guilty for, you know." "Focus, Rowan," I said. "What's the plan?" I have no idea. They've been luring us since the town meeting announcement, and Cass just walked directly into a trap. They know about you?" He walked backwards, fixing his Ray-Bans on the crown of his head. "Somehow. I'm guessing this isn't the first time our cult friends have used out-of-towners as sacrificial lambs. And my guess is, this time, they actually succeeded." He stumbled and I grabbed him, helping him up. Rowan shoved me away, his lip curling in disgust. "Hands off," he spat. "I can walk on my own." When he swiped my hand off his shoulder, I backed off. Anyway, the town is following a protocol set in place for this kind of shit, which means they know about how the moon and her converting into werewolves, as well as the cannibalism. He bounded towards the exit doors. "You said that group of psychopaths called us devils? Just like Maya Carlisle, which means it's only a matter of time before." When his phone slipped from his grasp and shattered on the ground, I ran straight past him. Rowan was a klutz after all. But then he stopped, skidding to a halt. The automatic door was open, leading out of the college's reception, but my housemate stood on the threshold, perfectly still. At first, I thought we had been cornered, that townies had figured out where we were, but Rowan didn't look scared or threatened. Instead, his head was tipped back, half-lidded eyes gracing the harvest moon, which had risen earlier than I thought, taking over the sky, bathing everything below, including my housemate's face, in milky white light. For a moment, I was transfixed by him. Rowan Beck, a devil, werewolf, in plain sight. Just like Maya said, the moon loomed over us, casting her glow on my housemate, revealing his lack of shadow, and filling his eyes with that light I was all too familiar with by now. Unlike last time, it was fast, no longer slow, bleeding into him. It drowned him, giving him no time to breathe, to fight her breaking into his mind. Before I could hesitate, I grabbed him, pulling him out of the allure, and he stumbled into my arms, light as a feather. "Fuck," I thought. "Rowan," I said, trying to swallow my panic. The possibility of him lunging at me and ripping out my throat lingered at the back of my mind. But I stood my ground, despite every instinct inside me telling me to get away. When he started forward, I grabbed his sleeve. His eyes found nothing, oblivion, except the illuminated sky above us. His gaze was distant, like he was being pulled by invisible strings. "Snap out of it," I said shakily. I shoved him, and he didn't move, only swaying to the left, his eyes glued to the sky. "Remember what you said? If you don't push her out, that's what's going to happen." He ignored me, pushing past, like the moon herself was leading him away. I yanked my jacket out of my bag and handed it to him, my hands trembling. "Use this as a blindfold. You need to get out of the moonlight." He didn't move, didn't blink, his eyes swimming with her. "Are you looking for Sam?" His voice was strangely melodic. "What? Sam?" Under the moon's influence, his smile was cruel, and I could believe the cult woman's words, that he was her soldier, a monster of her making. every piece of him shattering and coming apart, and entwining to become the beast she envisioned. Rowan's head tipped unnaturally onto his shoulder, his voice hypnotizing. "Your friend who tortured us, when you were supposed to be protecting us?" I took a step back, and then another, adrenaline kicking my body into overdrive. She was speaking through him. "Sam has nothing to do with me," I managed to choke out. Rowan backed me into the wall, his mouth splitting into a grin. "There you go again," he sang. His voice was almost a melody, a song bleeding into my skull, numbing my thoughts. "Lying to save your own skin." His arm whipped out, his hand wrapping around my neck. Claw-like fingernails piercing my throat, but I couldn't move. Something in his eyes was new. That ethereal light I was used to was spreading and filling his pupils. His skin was splintering again, moonlight leaking out. But not because he was starving. She was doing this to him, breaking him apart right in front of me, tearing into flesh until bright light pooled, mixing with her startling allure. He laughed like a child, beads of moonlight trickling down his chin. "You are a fool." Black spots speckled my vision as I fought for precious breath. The world around me blurred and dimmed, the edges of my consciousness slipping away. I couldn't answer, I couldn't reply, choking on my own sobs. I don't remember him snapping my neck, but I do remember waking up, curled into a ball. Foggy, because I have no memories of those copies of myself. The copies ripped apart. This time, there are no gaps in my brain, no shadows in my memories. I still remember being half static when he dragged me into the dark. Under the full moon, I lay back while my housemate tore into me slowly, so he knew I'd feel everything. Every pinch of his teeth piercing my flesh, his fingers snapping my bones. Once, twice, 3 times. I had only ever had nightmares of feeling it. I had never felt the sensation before, of being eaten alive, dying, over and over again, just for his satisfaction. It was the kind of pain, the kind of mental agony, that made me beg for a quick death. Being rolled onto my back so I could see the glistening cavern of nothing. Static struggling to make up for what was missing, what was caught between his teeth. Slithering strands of red drenched into moonlight seeping around me in a halo, until death choked me back out. When I did come back, I was in the Bolivia house basement, forced into a bowing position. The stark orange glow of candlelight felt warm, almost comforting, until I lifted my head and saw my best friend's decapitated head pierced on a wooden stake. Sam's body had been laid out in front of me, surrounded by fruit and berries, glasses of wine and strips of meat. "Eat." The old woman stood behind me, her voice soothing. Bolivia House's basement was filled with cave-like markings of 4-legged beasts. "You must eat before your coronation, child." The woman's words filled my head, and before I could stop myself, I was reaching out and grabbing fistfuls of fruit, cramming them into my mouth. I couldn't stop myself. My hands were no longer mine, grasping for Sam's body, and I stopped for a moment, my mind clearing. Sam's torso had been perfectly laid out as a meal, like a pig at a buffet, but shuffling closer, choking on berries filling my mouth. I could have sworn I saw numbers carved into his neck. 1, 5, 6, 7. "Eat." I blinked, and under her dazzling light, I did. I stuffed my face until my mouth was full of my best friend, and I was choking on him, trying to drown his taste with bitter-tasting wine. I was yanked to my feet when Sam's bones peeked through raw strips of flesh. I don't remember screaming or crying, just smiling. I was so happy, because I was going to be their stomach. "Kneel." The woman's voice wasn't directed at me, but I still did, my body flopping to the ground. My limbs were no longer mine. Imogen knelt first, her smile dreamlike, moonlit eyes unblinking and inhuman, when a crown of entwined human bone was forced on to halo her, the moon bathing her face and drowning her eyes. That last glimmer of my best friend splintered, hollowing her out completely. Kaz was next, dropping to his knees and allowing the woman to adorn his curls with splintered bone. He didn't look at me or Sam, or anyone. Kaz Delacruz was gone, surrendering himself, mind, body, and soul, to the light filling his eyes and contorting his mind, into one of a starving, mindless king. The words carved into my ceiling grazed the back of my mind, delayed and blurry. The kings and queens must be crowned to be complete. My dazed eyes found the carvings on the wall. When Rowan joined the others, kneeling next to Kaz, the lights flickered out. I remember it in flashes. Rowan bowed his head, and what was left of Sam's skull adorns his dark curls. I remember his eyes flickering out, just like that. Everything that was him, gone, replaced with mesmerizing, horrifying light. The woman and her friends were screaming, crying, laughing in delight. "A new age begins," she shrieked, her voice slamming into me. Above us, the moon turned blood red, casting a hellish glow. I remember Rowan's growing maniacal grin, his skin rippling, his face contorting under bleeding moonlight, bathing his face. The ground rumbled, my vision blurred, color turning to monochrome nothing, and my world as I knew it came to an end, my life as their stomach, beginning.